Hello, friends. Part two of your podcast on standard deviation. What I'd like you to do is take this set of four numbers and find the standard deviation. Feel free to check it with the calculator by putting these in a list, but I want you to do it by hand. And I'm going to attach this page to the email I'm sending you so that you can actually print it out, do it, and we'll walk through it once you get in class. Just to get you started, add up all the numbers, identify how many numbers there are, divide those first two to find x bar, which is the mean, and then follow the example to get all the way to the variance and the standard deviation. Know the words. Okay, I now want to take you through some properties of the standard deviation, and these are all found on page 86 in your book. Okay, S measures spread about the mean and should be used only when the mean is chosen as a measure of center. So we're going to talk about why this is. Okay, basically, the standard deviation is a very powerful tool, and it's great so long as we have a symmetric distribution. The standard of deviation, like the mean, is not resistant. So if we have a skewed data or data with outliers, the standard deviation is not going to be useful, and we're going to have to use the five-number summary to make good decisions about the distribution. All right, a standard deviation of 0, which is the lowest it can be, that is if every number in the distribution is the same. Then there would be no spread or variability. Basically, otherwise, and almost every time for us, S is going to be a number greater than 0, and it can be very large, but it cannot be negative, and it can only be 0 if every number in the distribution is the same. Okay, so in a nutshell, we only use standard deviation when we have a fairly symmetric distribution with no outliers, or very few. If it's a large set, we can maybe get away with one or two, something like that. But in general, skewed or outliers, no standard deviation. Standard deviation has to be 0 or greater, and it measures how spread out. More spread in the distribution, higher the standard deviation. This is choosing a summary. This is on page 87 in your book. So basically, I want you to think we have two sets of tools to analyze distributions. All right. The one set of tools is the 5-num sum, which always works, but it is not as powerful, as we'll see later in the year, for predicting or describing as our second one, which is the mean and the standard deviation. All right, we can do a lot more with mean and standard deviation, but we can only do that if it's a fairly symmetric distribution with few or no outliers. 5-num sum always works. So that's the min, the Q1, the median, the Q3, and the max. All right, and the mean and standard deviation is just that. Okay, and we got a problem right here. And this is the second thing I want you to work on for homework. I want you to tell me which tool you would use to analyze common stocks and analyze treasury bills. Okay, and tell me why concisely. And this problem is on page 88 in your book. You also have 4 homework problems. They are right here: 131, 132, 137, 138. And I mentioned on the web page that you should expect your test on Friday, that we will work Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday we'll be looking at a Chapter 1 test. I am not going to spend any time covering linear transformations. I've decided that's something I'm going to skip this year and use our time elsewhere otherwise. All right, so that's that. Come see me if you need help, and have a good night.